Welcome to the new episode of The Other Russian. So this time I'm going to be filming from Lech. This is the capital of Ladakh, and this is the palace. Oh shit! This is the palace of Ladakh. Let me try and yeah, there it is. So yeah, I'm sitting in a restaurant in this lovely place in the capital of Ladakh, and Ladakh is a capital of well, it's not a capital actually. Ladakh is a territory. La is Passover. Dach is land, so land behind the Passover. So the first Passover that is like taking place when you go from Manali, and it's in India. It's Himalayas basically. So what you can see behind me is pretty much Himalayan mountains. So the altitude here is 3,500 meters above sea level. The first law or Passover, I may be mistaken here, but something like 2.7 thousand or so. So they're built a tunnel underneath it, so there's no longer need to go over it. But there are some really high Passovers at 6,500 meters above sea level, and it's called Kardungla, if I remember correctly. It's like mother of Passovers, pretty much. So like the biggest, the tallest one. So yeah, as you can imagine, 6.5 is pretty pretty um, high. So yeah, um, my team arrived, and we will be working on Monday and Tuesday, but yeah, on Wednesday and Thursday, we're gonna go to Nubra Valley, to Diskit, to see all the beauties of the region and all the Himalayan mountains, to go over Kardungla as well, and see some really nice places. On Friday, we're heading back to Delhi to again enjoy some Delhi and come back to wherever locations we're situated in, either Russia or Istanbul. For me, it's Lithuania. So yeah, let's talk today about a topic called the pillars of perception. So, if you remember, at some point in time, I did mention that strange Russian word called ustanovki, and I tried to find the proper translation for it, and I failed. I just couldn't. So, mindset is not the one that I was looking for. So, I tried to kind of find a more relevant translation, and it is, um, fuck, I've written it down somewhere. Yeah, pillars of perception, pretty much. So why do I decide to go with this more kind of different translation? Is that mindset is all about perception, and pillars are the like core fundamentals on which personality is based, basically. So those pillars, they kind of dictate how people behave, how they react, how they kind of put themselves out there in the world. Yeah, I'm just gonna see the bit to the side so that you could enjoy some of the views because it's pretty picture. So there are some stupas. Shit, yeah, there. There's a monastery there happening. Yeah, and yeah, that the biggest place is the palace. So going back to the pillars of perception, so basically, each human being possesses a certain number of like personal characteristic traits, and there are like this pillars of perception, which pretty much help them navigate throughout the world and base their behavior on those sets. And sometimes they're intertwined with values, but not in all cases. In majority of cases, the pillars of perception is something that we, as human beings, build while being established as a personality, whilst growing through our childhood, through the our behaviors that we observe within our family, from the society, from the content we consume, like again, video streaming services or books or education and environment in which we are living our life. It is all affecting us and making this, you know, pillar more concrete structure. So once it is finalized by the age of roughly 21, 22, so the person is probably going to live according to those pillars of perception till, well, either the end of their life or until something major happens in their life. So either they experience a near death, something like, almost dying, heart stopping, or a crash or something very significant that, makes people think and question their entire life pretty much. And at some point in time, they start to think that all those pillars of perception are no longer valid in with this new experience and in these in the new circumstances. And sometimes you can basically dissect those pillars of perception while you're in LSD, because you kind of see what your personality is made of, and you can kind of change the core of structure basically. So replace, I don't know, bricks with different types of bricks, renovate basically, or even rebuild. But it's up to you, because of course, if there's no need, there's no need, right? I mean, there's no need for intrusion or kind of mandatory replacement. I mean, we're back from those days when various psychic deviations been treated with electroshock and things like this. So nowadays you can find other ways. But when people struggle, of course, they come to use some medicine and some other substances as well. But again, if those colors, pillars, not actually color of perception, yeah, that's a better one. So yeah, pillars of perception um, dictate the way people treat information as well. So, for instance, if somebody has depression, what typically is the standard approach? Well, ask for help, pretty much. First of all, so if you have a depression, never leave with depression and just hope that it would pass, because it is the worst thing you could do. Is just hope that it will eventually pass. But if that situation is not changing over the period of, I don't know, roughly month and a half or two, this is the time to basically call for help or cry for help even. At least tell it to your family members, friends, people who you trust about your condition, because it is important to recognize it. It is important to not stigmatize it. It is important to talk about it. So once you think about this concept of stigma and stigmatization, again, it is all very much connected with the pillars of perception, pretty much, because in my original society that I've been living in Russia, of course, nobody uh, taught in schools or normalized the idea of having a psychologist and going through a therapy. And I would say that it is relatively new for my birth country, so probably like 20 years or so, I'd say. So probably in my view, it all changed with the appearance of, let's say, Western media, pretty much, like all those streaming services and all those TV shows that talk about, again, not only about LGBTQ, but also but also about other things like depression and, like the need for therapy. So whether you want it or not, I mean, we're all being brainwashed by the Western world, and I'm not against it, because whilst kind of being brainwashed, they do possess a certain level of progress in terms of like society, in a sense. Of course, there were people who would throw tomatoes at me and say that, in some places children need to decide on the sex, but I mean, it's questionable. Of course, it's better to wait till they're 18 and then they decide it by their own. But still, I mean, don't please suppress it, but don't again make them to do the choice, because I mean, before 18, I was just another stupid guy, and I could do some shit and make some stupid decisions. Luckily, I didn't make that many stupid decisions, even though I did make some of them. So nevertheless, not the point here. So that stigma around certain topics is, yeah, so there's oxygen. So there's a, what's it called, reduces, so hypoxia, right? Yeah. So this is the common problem that is happening in mountain area. And here again, being at 3,500 meters above earth, I can experience it in the back of my head. So I feel as if there's a piece of lead somewhere there in the back of my mind. So a colleague of mine bought one this time, and it's my second time in Ladakh and Leh. And first time I suffered a lot and I didn't buy it. Now I bought it, and like, so this is oxygen basically. So I enrich my blood system with oxygen, because it is not enough for me in this environment. And again, if I been like this regular victim of the patriarchal society that I am, pretty much, but if I've been even more orthodox, I would say, oh no, I'm a man, I don't need that shit. I just need to, buckle up and tighten the belt or whatever the fuck they typically say, and just be a man and not use any external help. But fuck it. I mean, I'm getting better. I feel better when I use it. So, what the fuck not? So anyway, going back to those pillars of perception, and thinking about again, depression, for instance. So when you talk about depression, typically when you get help, they tell you like, there are pills, there are like groups of support, psychology, and people sometimes, especially in Russia, still in the majority of cases, they would prefer not to go to the psychologist because it's a strange thing, I have a psychologist, I don't need it, shrink, and I mean, I can bear with it. And people don't recognize the value, but they do kind of believe in the typical standard health system. But the problem is with that health system is that it is pretty orthodox and unwilling to change due to a certain number of reasons. Reason number one would be corporations. So, I mean, it's not this the other conspiracy Russian guy there. I just I recognize that how it works in nowadays world. So there are medical companies like I don't know Sanofi, Merck, GSK, Sandoz again, Novartis. Well, they've merged with GSK, but doesn't matter. Other like pharma giants. I don't even. I can't even list them all. But anyway, what they do is that they produce drugs and then they work with doctors to prescribe those drugs. So they're not interested in losing their business pretty much. But if you kind of step aside and think about other available tools, so there is something that again happened recently. I'd say roughly over the course of past 12 years. That happened after a publication of a book, The Art of Microdosing. I'm not gonna go through it. I haven't read it yet. I will. But my wife, she suffered depression before war, and it was really a hard place to be with the person who experiences depression. And I wouldn't say, well, I think I had like depressive episodes, that's for sure, but not like that heavy. So she went to the doctors, for the psychologists, even psychiatrists. So they gave her prescriptions for some drugs, and she tried many, and they had like very weird effect, like side effects on her. So yeah, she suffered a lot while trying to use various types of drugs. Finally, something worked, but then again, the amount of side effects was insane. So we then started to look around and explore some other options, and we've noticed that there is this trend happening about microdosing, and we're like, okay, what's in it? And of course, there were like different aspects to it. So some people were saying about use psychedelics, like well, artificially created legality or something. But then again, there was this new one. Insinuation. Anyway, so there's this other direction of using mushrooms, pretty much. And mushrooms are different, of course. They live across the entire planet, and there's this even great the movie on Netflix again. It's called The Mycelium. There's this guy, like big fan of mushrooms. I don't remember his name and surname, and we've watched one of his interviews to Joe Rogan. And then he was talking about mushrooms and psychedelics and things like this, and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So we found out the muhamore. I don't remember how they're called in English, but I'm gonna put it in the notes so that it's there. But yeah, so basically it's just regular mushrooms. They're not outlawed, and at least in Russia. I don't know about other countries. And typically they're very well known as being poisonous. So if you eat one, prepare it, make a meal, you can suffer a lot. Like your liver can just say kaput and goodbye, bye bye, and leave you. But yeah, that's like when you take a lot. That's the problem. I mean, with every substance, with everything, you need to know the norms. Like sugar, I mean, sugar nowadays everywhere is in bread, and I don't know, all the processed meat, not meat only, but in meat you can also find sugar. But processed products, you can typically find sugar in it. So I mean, if you know more about it, you'd start to recognize and start to consume less sugar. But then again, not many people know about it. And there's again another documentary on sugar, which you can watch and decide for yourself. So going back to the mushrooms, and we found out about there are some people in Russia who are, you know, kind of have knowledge about microdosing on those mushrooms and having an effect on the human psyche. And we went through information, we read it through, and we found some people who sell those mushrooms, and you can buy them legally everywhere because, again, they're not outlawed. But back in the day, they weren't being sold with in pills or anything like that. So we had to find the person who gathered them, and then they sent them in the parcel. And then we made a basically like dust out of those heads, and then been consuming with like 1 teaspoon on a daily basis for the duration of like 2 or 3 weeks. And I tell you, this is simply amazing because, I mean, it normalizes emotional state, enhances quality of sleep. Uh, it kind of heightens up your general perception and behavior. Well, at least for us. I mean, I'm not promoting it or anything. It's up to you whether to do it or not. But the only aspect you need to consider of is knowledge. So yeah, do your homework and study first before you go there. Otherwise, it's going to be a problematic experience. So what I'm saying here is that, it helped us. It helped my wife. It helped me when I had the depressive episodes. It really helped me to kind of normalize my emotional state and get back from that deep uh, pit of emotions that I've been in whilst experiencing this episode. Let's put it this way. And recently, I had a conversation with a person who said, I'm depressed over the course of years, and start to ask, like, what do you do? And drugs, and yeah, they have the side effects. But have you tried mushrooms? Like, oh no, 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 definitely the mushrooms. Like, why? I mean, it's not science, it's not this, not that, and again, I mean, it's kind of strange and weird as shit. But then it is science, and there is knowledge, and there is information out there, and you can find it. Of course, the amount of research is not that big, but still. So, you can do your homework and figure it out. But again, this pillar of perception that is pretty much built around like this stigma of the substances and drugs. It creates this feeling within people that this is something shady, this is something that is prohibited, this is something that's going to cause me walking from a 50th floor and trying to hit the ground pretty much. But yeah, it's different, of course. So if you do your homework, you'll figure out quite fast that it's not about that. But it helps, and that stigma again. If you put it in the context of women's health and the menstruation health, again, I mean, for some people, it's like entire stigmatic topic and taboo topics that you can not talk about. But again, why? It is because of this fucking pillar of perception that the society that lack of knowledge and education and environment that led them into this thinking. Because really, I mean, if you again read the relevant information, if you educate yourself, there's nothing fucking stigmatic about it. The same goes for other topics that are typically taboo, like sex education, for instance. Like, oh, you cannot talk about sex, really? How people are gonna figure it out by them fucking selves, and then they get a HIV or some other diseases, and just face the consequences by themselves. But what if you could fucking teach them? Just at the relevant point in time, it wouldn't be such a fucking stigma at the end of the day. So yeah, finished with the topic. Some other things that I wanted to show you are some pictures that I made, but unfortunately, I came to this cafe and only here I realized that my second screen is no longer connected with this fucking wire. So they have like their own specific wire that you must use, otherwise it's just not gonna work. It's like piece of pumpkin. So I'm gonna show you my original screen in which I'm recording right now and try and may not fuck it all up. So yeah, this is the screen. So this is the OBS through which I'm recording all this. And this is Lea. This is actually behind my back. So what you can see is this part. You can't really see this part, but yeah, those are like Tibetan typical flags. I mean, not Tibetan. They're like with this. Yeah, sure, of course. So there are some pictures that I wanted you to go through. So this is on my flight from Delhi to Ladakh or to Leh, and yeah, as I said, it's like Shit, I'm not that good with technology sometimes. So yeah, please, please excuse me. So yeah, there I'm flying, and as you can see, it's like there's a peaks like 4 or 5 thousand meters, like maybe six somewhere here. I don't know, and it's very picturesque. But then you fly, and there's the valleys that are pretty much like pieces of dead land. But then you notice this, and there's like insane, it's like a river of life pretty much, and those are like agricultural, gardens. They're growing apricots here. So this region is very well known for production of apricots. But those are not only them; those are other vegetables that are probably being not only consumed here in the region, but also are being sent to other places. And yeah, before I go to Ladakh, I wanted to go to make a side step and talk to you about a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. So this is a book that's been written somewhere in the second part of 20th century by some American guys, and it's been outlawed pretty much. Well, not outlawed maybe, but not that widely known and things like that. So basically, the idea of this book is that the dude just took all the information from yeah, here from Encyclopedia Britannica about the use of hemp throughout the entire human history and put it all together, like scientifically, based on the knowledge, based on the data, based on hard evidence, pretty much. And he made this book about the potential of hemp for the entire humankind. And what you need to understand is, again, first of all, hemp does not have to have a narcotic substance widely known as THC. There are other variations like HHC and some other HCs. Basically, THC tetrahydrocannabidiol, HHC is hexahydrocannabidiol, and variations of cannabidiol. But the hemp may be without cannabidiol in the first place. So yeah, so he gathered all this data and put this into this amazing book that was called Emperor Wears No Clothes, or there's other variation of it. I'll put it in the notes. And then you just advocated it, ran rallies, met people. And I wanted to just, show some of the excerpts from it because entire humankind was living off hemp until pretty much middle of 20th century when one American corporation, DuPont, decided to introduce a new synthetically produced material to the market. And they had some really good connections inside the US government, and they made it happen so that hemp got outlawed and their materials got on board. So having in mind that US as a economy has massive influence over the entire world, and some people may say that they run the world. I disagree, not only them, but then again, what they do is that they influence significantly on other countries and other cultures, and on people, which directly or indirectly are interacting with the elements of its culture, like music, like movies, like books, and everything that goes it. Well, technology, of course, like Apple, Google. I mean, still there is some influence to it of this kind of Western world, but it's not about that. It's not about the Western world. It's about the power that U.S. has over the entire world. Because it, just to give you a big of overview, so 80% of the entire Western world's needs in materials for clothing industry, for making sails, for making paper and everything was going from hemp, and 80% of those needs were provided by Russia for the course of 300 years. And then you're like, what? And in Russia, cannabis is outlawed, of course. It's a drug substance of some class. But, the problem here is that production of hemp was widely known in Soviet Union. And there are even badges to like farmers that overproduced and delivered on the bigger quotas because they were 5-year plans. So it's getting more loud in here, and I hope you still can hear me. But yeah, anyway, so they've been there, and then all of a sudden, Russia falling apart pretty much, and then they outlaw. And I have a suspicion that somewhere there in the 90s, US had some really strong influence on Yeltsin when they helped him, pretty much win the election. So part of the deal probably was outlawing weed. I mean, I don't have any other explanation here, really. Maybe it's just a theory of one crazy other Russian guy, But still, yeah. So going back to hemp, and I'm not gonna, tell you go consume hemp. Basically, just it's about knowledge again and the stigma around it. So if you knew, you'd probably have a different perspective over it. But in schools, we're being taught that this is a drug, and nothing in the history book saying that this great material that we've been using for the entire fucking human history just evaporated. So yeah, that's me sitting waiting for the rest of my team. I arrived 2 hours early at Lea, and I was she's sitting outside reading my suitcase in the back. This is my leg. This is yeah the Kindle that I use. So yeah, just to give you an idea of like hard evidence. So this is the USS Constitution, which is probably more known to the US rather than the entire like humankind, but still everything like oakum, I don't even know what that is. Ripping ropes, sails, pennants and signs, flags, maps, logs, Bibles, clothes, uniforms, everything was made out of fucking ham. And then you're like, how did this happen? Textile and fabrics. Oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, towels, representative fibers and cannabis, and that I mean somewhere here probably, or maybe in some other place. So yeah, I mean the entire those 80% of those 80%, so roughly 60 or more or less. But yeah, anyway, no 7. Yeah, around about 70. No, doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, the percentage of those needs was provided by Russia, and it's facts, facts, facts. You can double check it all. And there was we can have this hemp fiber. I mean, just look at this like 75, 90% of all paper in the fucking world was made from cannabis hemp. And you're like, what? And then I'm not sure if it's here or not, so you can go through. Oh yeah, by the way, that's an interesting fact. So the first draft of the Declaration of Independence was written Dutch hemp. Like what? Again, it's there, and there is. Oh yeah, there it is. So Russia, however, was the world's largest producer, best quality matters. 80% of the Western world's hemp population. So yeah, I mean, 300 years, and then Second World War happened, and I guess part of the deal for Russia was to outlaw it somehow, because again, until 1940, so something happened there, yeah, lighting as well, like this, and I haven't even finished the book. Protein is insane. Monks were required to eat hemp seed dishes, And the thing is that, once it got outlawed, so US made it happen so that it's not used anywhere in the world pretty much. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to that. So it's history with DuPont. Yeah, so until Prohibition 1937, world's number one bird seed, like seriously, what the fuck? And it got outlawed like this. There were like millions of farmers in US growing hemp, and then by the way, hemp is the only plumbing pipes from hemp. Like what? The renewable hemp cellulose is the chemical feedstock. This is just insane. Like seriously, like how the fuck is this possible, and the world not being able. So yeah, this is the biggest invention to kind of yeah basically it says here processing machine. Many fluid rollers crush the stalk, separating the hemp fiber from the woody portion of the plants, and then it was then further used for production of all the materials and everything. So yeah, before I show you my do that, just go back here quickly. Still have some time. I didn't speak that much. So yeah, I mean, imagine my shock and surprise of me at the age of 36 years. I'm looking at my watch. I don't know why. But yeah, being at the age of 36, knowing it all. And I actually know about this book to a reason. I participated in an exhibition called Mary Jane Berlin, happening in June 2023. So it was an entire exhibition dedicated to marijuana, pretty much. and there were like hundreds of companies producing pretty much everything. And then there was this guy from Belgium who read this exact book, and this is why I know about this book, is that knew it from him and from his stand. So he read this book and he's like, "Fuck, I need to do something about it." So he kickstarted a brand made of hemp, and he just gathered like 8,000 euro to put it all together. He's doing it. I mean, this guy is amazing, my star. But you need to understand that hemp is the only carbon negative plant in the world. Well, and you can double check me on that if it's not the one off. That is for sure. And it can be used for everything. So I don't really understand like where is the stigma coming from all those people saying, "Oh, this is a drug substance, we're gonna use it." But then, dude, do your fucking research, do your fucking study, don't be ignorant. Oh yeah, by the way, talking about ignorance, I've been passing through a shop, and there are a lot of shops here by people from Tibet region, and there are a lot of Tibet refugees coming from a Chinese part. Well, if you don't know, Google. There's a lot of happening in there, and the Chinese party is not kind of interested in those monks confirming that there is second life, and they don't like it. Shit, where did I put it? Put it somewhere. I hope I didn't lose it. Yeah, let me try and find it here. Makes less fuss of it. But yeah, while I'm at it, yeah, let's take a drag of this majestic oxygen that I have with me. I mean, this is insane. So yeah, what I've been talking to you is that I've been passing the store. I was looking for some specific substance, and then saw this one from the Dalai Lama. This is good. This is like really good. Yeah, so the reason I took it is because of this basically first sentence here. So I'm not gonna, show it all to you, just selfishness. Seriously, like we can also approach the importance of compassion through intelligent reasoning. And this is in the core of the ignorance, because, yeah, he says more about ignorance here as well. And this is like critical to understand. But yeah, I mean, we're humans. We need to reason. We shouldn't kind of close off because it is not our cultural norm or taboo or something. It is because we decide to do this way, and we should stop doing it because it would lead us nowhere in terms of progress. So today I've seen the news that NASA is testing first engine. I mean, this is to fly. Yeah, so nuclear engine to be tested for future Mars missions. And then, there are still people who think that it is important to conquer other territories and kill other people. And you're like, have some fucking acid, fix your problems with the psychologist, and get on with your life, basically. But yeah, let me just, yeah, so there's my team. So there's head of strategy Anton. He's yeah, I told to you about. This is Lera, our project manager. Diana is a star. She's into like touchy subjects of studying, like sex, for instance, or sexuality of it. Katya is a star. She's like a math genius, pretty much. Consumes tons of information. Veronica is a star as well. She's from a closed city that is known for production of some shady military shit, but I don't even know the name of it, so I'm not gonna say it. But yeah, she's like absolutely insane, outgoing, open-minded person, and I adore her for this. So yeah, that's us heading to the hotel. So this is Ladakh. Just wanted to, give a flavor. Oh, sorry, Veronica there. So yeah, kind of making pictures. But yeah, this is Ladakh. This is a really nice place, and as you can see, there are a lot of flags. So those are Buddhist flags. Welcome to Ladakh G20. So I guess some big like politicians came here to, see and participate in whatever the fuck events happening during this G20 chair that India holds. So yeah, I mean, mosque. I was surprised to learn that there are like three at least mosques that I've noticed. So this is the palace behind me. You've seen. Yeah, not that good, but still. So there are several mosques, and they don't look like typical mosques, right? I mean, if you go to Istanbul, for instance, you look at Hagia Sophia, is like nothing to do with this, because this is like made from wood and everything, and it's like very different. So yeah, this is view on the road back to the hotel. Those are some dogs and yeah, cows, of course. They're sacred animals, so they can go anywhere. And that was a funny thing. So I was going to the airport from Delhi to Delhi International to catch a flight on Saturday morning. And then there's this speed road, basically, with the hard division of separate flows. And in India, people drive in a very weird manner, in a sense, if you compare it with the typical Western world. So you may perceive it as a chaos, but it is controlled chaos somehow. So yeah, going back on that speed road, and the cars and bikes are driving with 50, 60, 80, and then all of a sudden there are several cows heading your way. It's like, what the fuck? Where did they come from? You don't even know. But yeah, I mean, they can go anywhere. So there are some local dogs, and yeah, as a dog owner, I couldn't have missed making this picture, because again, I mean, those mountains in the back and that doggy sleeping in there in the morning. Yeah, some shops, yeah, offering tours. They just like it. I mean, they know the audience they're working for fans of heavy music. So yeah, again, some dogs, some advertisements. So there is some products that are being sold here, and this is a regular store, but there are markets of yeah, Tibetan refugees. So pashmina, of course, and the Kashmir is a state nearby. So whenever they say pashmina or Kashmir, it's not, well, again, I may be wrong here, but it's not like specific like brand of material or something. Is the way material is being treated. But then again, Kashmir is in India. Pashmina is pretty much from here. Is the way they treat cloths, basically. So yeah, this is market of refugees. So those are flags, some metal working, woodworking, some knives, some singing bowls, some flags, some sands, a lot of stuff. And yeah, I mean, people just left Tibet because, Chinese government is not really happy with them. So yeah, those guys are selling their like whatever jewelry, whatever you want, some earrings, some necklaces, and this is just insane amount of whatever you want to buy. Hang drums. I was like, oh, dude, maybe I need to buy one. But then I remember there's this 15-kilo limit on my luggage, and I was like, yeah, right. Coming here with 17 kilos, like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna buy it. Sure. So yeah, those are just some, places, and I just wanted to show you too. Again, dogs lying in various places. Again, monasteries, shops, and everything, roads and people. Some another mosque happening here. So yeah, I mean, just to wrap up this strange conversation, or not a conversation even, I don't know how do you call it, this genre, talking genre, let's put it this way. Well, and actually, surprisingly enough, it's 16 degrees, but feels as if it's 25. Yesterday in the evening, it was 12 degrees. It felt as if 21. I don't get it. I just don't understand how the weather works here. But yeah, anyway, going back to the conclusion here. So let's wrap up. And I, I wanted to just highlight that it's always important to be open-minded, and instead of stigmatizing something, try to understand and listen. And then it's your right to disagree, but don't prove people wrong, especially when people know shitload more than you. Just to give you an instance, so I don't know that much about wine, but I do know something. And when I was working at the Cybarco, my boss, was Pasteles, a great guy, so was a very drinking person. Let's put it this way. So he told me to smoke cigars, and I still enjoy them till this end, till this day. To this day, and but yeah, we've been drinking wine, and I asked him like, Salas, how do you know that much about wine? He's like, no, I don't know much. I just know 5% more than 95% of the population. So again, this is it. You just know more, and this is already enough to be less ignorant about it. So think about it. I'm just gonna show you some of the beauties behind me. Yeah, there it is. Wonderful. Yeah. Shit. So yeah, thank you for listening. Hopefully the quality of sound is not bad this time because I've asked a guy to help me out, even paid him some money. So hopefully you would enjoy. So thank you for watching and yeah, enjoy your life.